I grew up in kind of a smaller town that was pretty big into hunting. I always knew when it was the first day of the season and we had a buck pole right in the middle of the town that all the school buses drove past. And I never hunted myself. I always felt like my connection with animals and nature was integral to who I was, and it would be kind of betraying that to go hunting. I still ate meat because I love meat, but it was in blissful ignorance of the process. I was glad I didn't have to see what that meat was before I ate it. And when I was around 12 years old, I was riding my bike down some dirt roads near my house, and I came to this ditch that had a bag full of bones in it. Like this giant black trash bag full of bones. It was like the entire skeleton of a deer, and right next to that bag of bones was the head of the deer staring up at me from the ditch. And I remember thinking to myself, this is gonna be a moment that changes me. My life is on a hinge, and there is only who I was before this and who I will be after this. And even as I made that choice, I knew that it was kind of a romantic idea. There wasn't a good possibility that I would actually be a changed person because of that event. And of course, after a week or two, I had kind of forgotten the incident and my melancholy had moved on. So that moment in my life that I thought was going to have a huge impact and change the way I looked at animals and food and the way I interact with them didn't actually make that big of an impact on me. But this comic, woo! Howdy, I'm Kurt Williams, and today we are looking at Assorted Crisis Event, specifically issue 2 by Deniz and Eric Zawadzki. Before we get into it, really quick, I want to extend an invitation. If today is Saturday, that means that tomorrow, April 27th, is my Every Comic Shop in Massachusetts live stream. I'll be streaming starting at noon, making terrible commissions for people who are willing to support my trip to Massachusetts, where I will visit and film every comic shop in the state, including Newbury Comics. Maybe not all 11 locations because they don't have that many comics and it seems a little redundant, but we'll see. So please consider helping me make that happen. Show up to the live stream, even if just to hang out. Now back to the comic. This might be the most disturbing comic I've read in like a year. And no, I'm not actually gonna be a vegetarian. I love meat too much for that. But every time I have to confront the reality of eating animals, it's definitely uncomfortable. I'm not saying it's wrong to eat animals. I'm just saying that maybe it's a good thing we wrestle with the idea of it. So anyway, this issue follows this main character, Jesus, as we kind of see a blended up, fractured retelling of the main events of his life. And the theme of this series is that time is out of order. Time is kind of fragmenting. In issue 1, we had a billion different end-of-the-world events happening almost simultaneously, or at least on a daily basis, and people had grown numb to it because the world is ending every single day, which felt significantly more science fiction than issue 2, and also really spoke to this dread that a lot of people in my generation have. Whether or not people agree on it, and whether or not it is objectively true, a lot of people my age feel a sense of hopelessness for the world. We feel like we can't fix it. Like no matter what we do, it's not going to get better, so what's the point? And issue 1 did a really good job of bringing us along on that emotional and philosophical ride. I didn't do a review on it when it came out because honestly it was dense. There's a lot to think about, a lot to process, and I didn't feel like I could summarize it in a bite-sized package, and maybe that's a good thing. What I'm saying is this series brings up a lot of great things to talk about and think about. And like I said, in issue 2, it's not quite that sci-fi. We're following Jesus mostly as he's working in a slaughterhouse. There's gonna be a couple spoilers in this video, and I'm sorry if you're not into that, but really it's about how the story is told, not just what things happen. So even though you're gonna know some things that happen in this issue, you should still buy it for yourself because the experience of reading it is what's important. Jesus is an immigrant. His parents brought him to America when he was very young. His father got a job at a slaughterhouse, and then Jesus also eventually got a job at the same slaughterhouse where Jesus's father was killed while working. And look, when that kid threw himself into a wood chipper in Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, that was hilarious. But this is not funny. So we follow Jesus as he's struggling with the ethics of killing all these animals and also struggling with being an immigrant who's not fully legal and the difficulties of that, trying to raise his daughter when he doesn't really have a reliable paycheck. And throughout all these struggles, he feels like his life is kind of getting out of order. At one point, he says he sees one of the cow's lives flash before his eyes. He can see that cow's entire life, and he almost mixes it up with his own. And all in all, this story makes for a very confusing, disturbing, and compelling experience. And I know that the country is kind of divided on immigrants right now, but I have no problem saying that I sympathize with the character in this story, because I live in a city that has been so unkind to me since I got here. Even today, I had a terrible experience. But the best friends I've made since I have gotten here have been illegal immigrants. They are some of the hardest workers I know, and they are some of the most honest people I know. But even if I didn't already have that experience in my life that makes me more prone to sympathize with this character, this is the kind of story that gets you to understand other perspectives. This story connects you to people who are different from you. And that is one of the best things about comics and storytelling in general, is when it gets you to think differently about the world around you. I've never really been into escapism myself. I feel like I have a lot of things I want to do. I have a lot I want to understand, and I want to be understood. And maybe that's because of my privilege of being young and ambitious and hungry. But at the end of the day, I don't want the literature I consume to make me forget about life. I want it to make me understand life better. Now, my personal connections to the subject material aside, this is still a very solid book. I don't think I've read much by Deniz Camp, but the writing in this book, especially issue 2, but also issue 1, is very solid. We're dealing with so many issues all at once, and they're being woven together so seamlessly. It seems like a truly ambitious piece of art, the kind of thing that somebody works on for a long time, that puts a lot of heart and soul into. Definitely not just the latest adventure of guy wearing cape. And the art is maybe not my favorite art ever, but it gets the job done. It's very clean and crisp. It feels fresh and dynamic, especially the work being done with the colors to push almost everything into the background. The emotions of the character are coming through. The body language is really hitting. The amount of panels does not make the pages seem busy. When we get to the truly striking visuals, like this velociraptor or whatever dinosaur that is, and the alligators, it really works. Like I said, it's not my favorite art ever, but it's hitting. It is doing the job that this comic needs it to do. Honestly, after the first issue of the series, I felt like I didn't need another source of doom in my life. I wasn't really sure if I was going to get with the series, but issue 2 has convinced me that this is a classic series in the making. I'm definitely going to keep buying it. I'm really excited about this series. I'll give the series as a whole a 9 out of 10. This issue in particular felt like it really wanted to be disturbing, and it did so. But at the same time, we have a fulfilling ending, and we also have a tie going from issue 1 to issue 2, so it feels like a connected universe still. I really liked it. It was great. You should buy it. Issue 2 came out this week. Issue 1 was a few weeks ago. Put it on your pull list. Make sure your local comic shop knows that it is great, because more people should be reading this. Like I said, we're having the live stream telethon Sunday at noon. I'm gonna go to Massachusetts and start hitting the 54 comic shops on Tuesday, May 6th. So support your local comic shop, and I'll see you on Sunday. I'm Kurt Williams, and you are some